Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Niresh Eliathambi. We have with us this evening a guest who really needs very little introduction. Our viewers will know her very well. This is Dr. Ajantha Perera. Welcome. Good evening, Dr. Ajantha.
So good to be here.
Nice to have you once again.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
we do bring you on from time to time to give us a view of perhaps a bit of a moral compass of the societal situation. And now, of course, over the last several months, Sri Lankan society has been in flux. We have changed our president, changed our prime minister and cabinet. The composition of parliament has changed completely, and now we are going for the local government elections on the 6th of May. So that is going to change things at the ground level as well. So to discuss all of this, we have Dr. Ajantha. So Dr. Ajantha, let's start with the local government polls. I see this as having a profound effect on Sri Lankan society, because for the first time we are going to truly have 25% representation, or a minimum of 25% representation of each local government body being women. And there is also a similar quota for youth, which is people under 35. So we are going to see this movement away from the old men brigade, as I like to call them, towards young men and women in particular. How do you see this impacting society as a whole?
Yeah, I think what really happened with the parliamentary election was good, because basically having been able to bring on board 21 females to the parliament was a great achievement. Because I think it was only about 13, around 13.
13 previously,
yeah,
and 22 this time.
And then suddenly jumping up to at least 30, 31 is a big number, which is good. I mean, but then comes in me the question, how much are they performing? It's nice to have women in the parliament. It's good to have women in the parliament. But the question comes up is, how effective are they in decision making? Because when you go to the parliament, when you become a member of the parliament, what is expected of you by the people? Because you're going there by the people, for the people. So once you go there, you can't be for yourself.
Or for your political party.
Exactly, precisely. So basically, how well are they performing? This is a big question that I often have. Now, when I look at the parliamentary debates, when I look at the discussions which are occurring inside the parliament, I hear the voice of the Prime Minister very often, which is good. But then when I look at the other females in the parliament, I don't hear them. I hardly hear them. And then it comes a question in me whether they are being actually suppressed inside the parliament, whether they are being told not to talk, whether they are being told that it needs to get approval before they open their mouth. Do they need to get approval from the hierarchies as to what they should say? Now, if that is the case, then it's a sad situation. Bringing females to the parliament, but not allowing them to raise their own opinion and say what they need to say, then if there's a block, it's bad. So to be very honest with you, I do not really know what exactly is happening. Now, if you really look at the situation in the country as such, now we've had a doctor being raped inside, within the premises of the hospital, I didn't hear a large cry from within inside the parliament. Then we have this new bill to be passed now on abortion, which is very sensitive issue for the women of this country. If two practitioners agree and say that this particular embryo is likelihood is that it will give rise to some defects in the child, then there can be an abortion. But what is the view of the parliament? Where are the women who are supposed to be talking about these things? Then if you look at the UN report on the women's abuse, the verbal abuse towards women, that has risen by 159% since November. So the parliamentarians should be having these details in their hand. And then we have, even from the Ministry of Women's Affairs, there is a situation where the women's, the complaints by the women have gone up to about 300 odd cases. Now, I myself have gone through two situations where I was really abused. And that was when I went to the Ministry of Education. 2 times I went to the Ministry of Education very recently. This is regarding some issues that have arisen. And I was not allowed to go inside the ministry. I was refused to go inside the ministry by the security people. Even that was on 2 public days. And I was trying to go in because it's a public day. I didn't want to go on another day. And I was going to meet the Secretary of the Ministry of Education. But the Secretary herself refused to see me, saying that, first time not available, but she was inside. I was told that by the security people themselves. And the second time, she asked me to come at 2:30. And then made a complaint that I did not come on time, that it was 2 o'clock. But I have written down that it's 2:30. So the question that arises is, we women send women to the parliament, women to the Pradesh Sabha, women to the municipal council, with the hope that women will speak on behalf of us. But when it doesn't happen, then comes the question mark, do we need women? Do you understand what I mean? I mean the political parties have worked very hard on the nomination papers to have 25% of them as women, and that would have given a big problem. I can understand when the nominations are called, there's a lot of infighting. There's a tremendous amount of infighting, and among women, for that matter, would have been pretty bad. For every party, right? Why not me? I have worked so hard. But then they have made the list. But if you choose them and they don't perform, then comes the question mark, do we need to think about it? I can't speak on behalf of the youth so much because, I have not really been taking coverage over what kind of has happened. But then I see most of the people now in the parliament also, including the president, is quite young. So, I can't complain so much because they do speak, and there are enough of ministers who actually are quite young and still, they are speaking. So that's good. But when it comes to the question of women, my thinking right now is, if they are not going to perform, if they are not going to do the duty for which they have been sent into the parliament, and they are sitting there taking their salary, having the comfort of a vehicle, having the comfort of housing, having the comfort of per diems, and being able to go abroad, disappointed.
No, you bring up an interesting point, and this is something which always bothered me, because we, for decades, we very proudly spoke of having Mrs. Sirimava Bandaranaike being the first woman prime minister in the world. But that's it. So, the question, so what? What was the impact? apart from just boasting about it. There was no answer to that. Did the situation of women and the family issues of society, were they developed and advanced? Not really. So, I always felt having Mrs. B as the Prime Minister was quite nice, but it had very little impact on this very important aspect of society.
I think it comes from the fact, it arises from the fact that just the fact that you're a woman is not sufficient. You need to have a good backbone. You need to be sure of who you are. And you need to have the strength to speak up. And then don't let others control you. When you are passionate about something, when you are passionate about bringing about a change in society about something, then speak up. Because very often women have that ability to sense when there is something wrong. For example, let me say right now, my biggest worry is there are so many road accidents where children have been involved. I mean, this has happened again and again. School buses having accidents. So there comes the question whether we are monitoring the school buses, are we monitoring the school vans, are we taking care of the transport for children? Because this is very critical. So, I mean, when you think like that, then speak up. And then another thing is, I know in the political realm, I have experienced that and I know it very well. The hierarchies, they always try to suppress the women in how they behave. They're given, they have been asked to be obedient. If they are obedient only, they can rise up. So, very often that happens, and inside the political parties.
Now, let's look at what you said about Parliament and the fact that most of the women MPs seem to be silent, or we don't see them or hear them speaking much. Now, when the cabinet was appointed, we had the Prime Minister and we have one other woman as a minister.
Mrs. Poraj. Yeah.
And then when the list of deputy ministers came out, not a single woman. So now in Parliament, it is the ministers, the subject ministers, the Prime Minister, the subject ministers, and the deputy ministers who get the most time to speak on policy. If you are just an ordinary member of Parliament, you may not get so much time. Of course, sometimes you do see ordinary members of Parliament being quite vocal, but generally, if you are not in cabinet, you're going to get less time, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I think I'm happy in a way. MPP has been sending. I think Mrs. Lakmali.
Lakmali Hemachandra.
Yeah, she has been coming for various debates and so on, and I'm happy about that because she speaks well. So that's a good opportunity for her. But then I'm looking at this. There are some doctorates there. Are they not being given the opportunity, or are they very quiet, or are they very fearful of what they need to say? Are they fearful, or is it contradictory to what they believe in? If the party is standing up for something and it is in contradiction to what you believe, the person might not be feeling happy to come and take part in a discussion. So I think the PM, she needs to take the initiative in allowing other women also to come and take part, because it's very important. Because otherwise, why should the country vote for women in the local government election? I don't see any purpose, because you see, we have a country which is actually going down in economy. We are in debt. Huge amount of debt has been taken by now. And then, where are we going in terms of development? So the most critical thing for Sri Lanka right now is not women, it's not men, but rather the economy. And everyone is looking to see whether the local government is going to bring forth men and women who are capable of taking care of the grassroots level situation, because grassroots level is the most critical. Sure, you have the industry, sure, you have the business community, sure, you have the diplomatic relationships, sure, you have grants and, all sorts of projects. That's fine. But the most effective thing is at the grassroots level. We can't afford to be giving Aswasumo to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I mean, this is going to be ridiculous if the budget in 2026 happens to be also giving away so much of money, saying that, just to please the poor people or just to please the pensioners, then we are not going to have any development. So, the most critical thing right now is whoever comes to play in the local government election needs to be putting down roots within inside the local government areas where the productivity should come from those people as well, and those people should also be helped to be part and parcel of the development process. We can't afford to have people sitting at home taking the pension, doing absolutely nothing. That doesn't, I mean, there are a lot of people who are over the age of 65 who are working, who are contributing, who are doing a tremendous amount of work. But others, they say, I'm on pension now, I'll take care of my grandchildren, and the country can just go on. That's not fair.
Now, Dr. Ajantha, in 2018, the 25% women's quota came into effect at the local government level. But due to various issues, I think it was finally 23.8 or just close to 24% women in the local government bodies. But we didn't see any change in the way the local government authorities functioned. And when you ask political commentators about it, the reasoning given is that most of these women were simply figureheads, that they were the wives of other politicians, mothers, girlfriends, sisters, daughters, and then so they won, but then they really were not given a proper place and were dominated by their male relatives who had put them forward. So we didn't see them being active. We didn't. The fact that 24% were women wasn't reflected in the workings of the local government authorities. It could have been 100% men, and the local government authorities would have functioned in that same way.
Exactly.
So, is there a danger of that again?
Well, this is where I fear, because I don't see much in the parliament. To be very frank with you, I don't see women fighting on behalf of women. I don't see women caring for women. So my biggest question is, even if they come to the local government level, will they care for the people who are there for them? For example, health issues. You have a lot of economic issues. Then you have the schools. Then you have the drainage problems. Then you have the garbage issues, the building issues, land, acquisitions, so many things.
Things as simple as street lighting.
Exactly.
Which has to do with the safety of both men and women on the street. So after about 7 or 8 p.m., you simply you can't walk on the street alone, whether you're a man or a woman. And so it's a matter of safety, street lighting.
And safety now, even on the highway. Now we hear of a lot of road accidents on the highway. Why? No lighting. There are no lights. And every time when we are traveling on the highways, we talk about it because it's very dangerous. So basically there's a lack of these things. And let's coming back to areas where there are shanties. There's hardly much of lights. People going through little passageways, moving here and there. Little children are moving here and there. No lights.
Absolutely. So safety and security is a major issue. We'll discuss that further, but first we need to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Every day, millions face the impossible. What happens when clean water feels out of reach? When an entire village is left helpless? When it seemed like no one is listening, Gammatha saw the need. Gammatha took action and a community fought back. A water purification system for a village that once had none. Gammatha, for the people, by the people.
Get me Moira now.
Aquarius. Oh, what a baby.
Prefect. Saturday and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. on TV1.
ක්‍රිස්තු වර්ෂ 460දී ධාතුසේන රජතුමා විසින් නිර්මාණය කළ අද්විතීය වාර නිර්මාණය කලාවැවයි. මේ පෞරාණික ජලාශය ජලය ඝනමීටර මිලියන 123ක් ගබඩා කිරීමේ ධාරිතාවකින් යුක්තයි. කුඹුරු අක්කර දහස් ගණනක් පෝෂණය කරන මෙය ප්‍රෞಢ ලාංකේය ඉතිහාසයේ ස්වර්ණමය සලකුණක්.
අසම සමවාරි තාක්ෂණයෙන් ලොවක් විශ්මයට පත් කළ රජරට පුරවරේ ගල්නෑවට මෙවර සිරස වසන්ත උදානය අරගෙන අපි එනවා.
ඔබේ ගමේ නගරේ දේශපාලනයේ හෙට දවස සතිය දිනවල සවස 6:30ට.
Welcome back to Face to Face. We are with Dr. Ajantha Perera. Dr. Ajantha, we were talking about the effect of having women or 25% women in the local councils. Now this time there is a school of thought that the NPP will win most of the councils, and the NPP has of course promised not to nominate people who are from political families. So it's not somebody's wife or mother or sister. It is a genuine candidate. So the women who are running are genuine candidates. Will that have an effect? Or will they also get elected and then stay silent where policy making matters are concerned in your municipal council, your urban council, and your Pradesh Sabha?
Well, to be very fair, I mean, I know Mrs. Samanmeli, right? She's the wife of, I mean, I knew her because we were working on the garbage issues in Ratmalana some time back. But what I feel is, it's not about the connections, it's not about the family affairs, it's not about being a woman. I think it's primarily how competent are you? What is your competence level with regard to the task that you are supposed to perform? For example, if somebody has a very lot of fear for the superiors, they will not be able to make the right decisions. Now, if you look at the garbage issue, now, one of my favorite subjects where I am the founder of the national program on recycling of solid waste. I have done all the research and I have already set the place in the local authorities what they should do. They all know about it. Now, the situation is, for example, the Colombo garbage will be taken to Aruakkalu. That's what they're saying. But Aruakkalu is not the best place for garbage disposal right now because of the situation where it is placed. Very close to a lagoon, people are protesting, and if you take the Colombo garbage in trains to Aruakkalu, there will be a huge uproar. So that is not the way that it should be done. Now, the women who are going to be elected to the Colombo Municipal Council, will they have the backbone enough to make a difference? If these are the questions that we need to ask. For example, Kasbava Pradeshya Sabha and the Maharagama and Morotua, they are bringing their garbage to Karadhyana. Karadhyana is a garbage dump which is terrible. I mean, it's stinking, it's going to fall, it's going to cause a lot of harm, and people keep saying that, but they are dumping garbage in somebody's private land, so that the owner of that area, that land, will get some money from the local authorities, and that money is well divided among those local authority members, so that everybody is happy. So the Karadhyana goes on. Now, whoever gets elected to the Kasbava Pradeshya Sabha, whoever gets elected to the Morotua town council, even if it is a woman, would she have the guts to say no? These are my questions. It's not about the woman. It's not about being young. It's about the ability to say no for no and the ability to make a difference.
But Dr. Ajantha, now that brings us right back to issues of corruption. And we do see some progress. It's slow progress, but we see former ministers being taken into custody, which I mean, it was unheard of earlier. 10 years ago, you didn't have ministers being arrested. Even today, we had a member of parliament, a sitting member of parliament, being arrested and remanded. So, so there is some progress on the anti-corruption front. Whether it has actually led to less corruption, well, we don't know yet. There are no studies on this yet, but certainly among the present ministers and MPs, one can assume there is less corruption. But whether that has actually impacted into society, we're not sure of, are we?
Yeah, I think, you see, local authorities, whether it's a Pradeshya Sabha, urban council, or the municipal council, is a place for corruption. The moment somebody walks into that place, there are plenty of people who would be trying to take something away from that man's pocket.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the way you have to look at it. They are going to ask for something. Okay, digitalization is a good thing if we can do it proper. If we are going to have a situation where the digitalization will enable every single person to be part and parcel of it and becomes transparent. Very important keyword the government should remember is transparency. Just because it's been put online doesn't mean all the problems are over. Money can be transferred to here and there, and a person can say to a person who's coming, don't pay me right now, but here's my bank account, send the necessary amount to my bank account, and it goes to the bank account, nobody sees that. So corruption can happen. But the question is, the team that you are going to put into a municipal council, Pradeshya Sabha, or an urban council needs to be consisting of good people, honest people. It does not matter what the political party is. Forget it. At local government level, forget about the political party. Political party has absolute zero value in the local government elections, because at the parliamentary election, as the presidential election, yes, it matters, because it's teamwork for policy making, teamwork for legislation. But at the local government level, you need a team consisting of different people who are capable of doing the job getting done and also who are honest. So if there are independent candidates who are actually contesting this time, I do not know how many, if there are good people among the independent candidates, vote for them. You need good people. If you want to change this country, don't be so, oldish and say, we are going to only vote for one particular party. No, no, no. Get people from various parties or independent groups and make a good team for your municipal council, Pradesh Sabha, or urban council, because the job is difficult. I mean, a person coming and they have just built a house and they want their plan to get approved, right? I mean, there are ways right now. You just consult somebody inside the Pradeshi Sabha and they'll tell you the fee and they'll get everything drawn for you, get approval for every single thing that you are going to alter, and everything is fine. Today, the situation is that we can't hide those things. Everything requires payment.
In fact, in many cases, if you go to get a house plan approved, the technical officer will ask you, have you got someone to actually draw this? I can do it for you,
and the fee.
Yeah,
the worst is the fee.
And the fee. But then it's all going to get passed. So you can build whatever you want at that point, which is how, some of the houses that are built, you wonder how they got passed.
And the fees are not small. They range from 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, 100,000, and it can go up to 200,000. So the technical officer may be getting a small salary, but he's at the end of the month, he's earning quite a good lot of money because he's doing extra work. I mean, not for the sake of goodness, but because, this is the way it gets done. So prepare a good team for your area. This is the greatest thing I can say to you. Because if you have a good team who is less likely to be involved in these things, who can do the monitoring, who can always check and see what these people are doing, and then make decisions. For example, where is your garbage going to go? Make sure that you do composting, that you do recycling, there is biogas, and that is being actually disposed in the most best way. And then you have the hospital waste, and then you have the drains. I mean, look at today, the drains, they are not getting cleaned. I mean, I see, they're getting people to go around and clean it once in a while. They are not even actually has the gradient so that the water would flow. So to get all those things done, you need a good team. And I think the local government, this election, even though we think of it as not so important, or we think basically everybody is saying vote for this party, vote for that party. This is not a competition about who the favorite party is. I think NPP has now got their president. NPP has now got their parliament. Get the job done. And work with the other parties as well at the local government level, because this is not a competition to say who's going to survive. This is the survival of the country. We are talking about that.
Absolutely. Now, once the local authorities, the new ones, take office, which would be at the end of May, early June, then we would have had this metamorphosis of this change in the culture of the country, starting from last September when the new president was elected. So it will be almost more than 9 months would have gone by. So then it's time to stop the excuses, isn't it? Stop the excuses and get on with the work.
Oh my God. I think it's a bit of a sad thing that this government keeps saying this is only 6 months, only 4 months, 3 months, and so on. Look, when we go and become a senior lecturer at the university, we don't continue to say this is only first month, this is only second month, this is only 6 months. We get on with our job. Even I remember when I became an assistant lecturer at the university, the very first day I had to lecture. I was not given an excuse that you are only just here today. No, you start with the work. So don't give those excuses. And then the most important thing is we need to understand it's about country's economy. Today, I saw the news that Sri Lanka has now become the third place for exporting tea to the world. India has already overtaken us. So it's a sad situation. We were a rich nation. We are rich in resources. There's a tremendous amount of human power, human resources here in Sri Lanka who can put this country in the right place. The president needs to now start talking not about his party. He needs to start talking about the country. Forget about the party. Party is there in the parliament and you're seated there. So don't go back to that level of always talking about the political party. Let's forget about colors.
Now, Dr. Ajantha, you bring up an interesting point, that the economic power of this country really hasn't been tapped into, has
Exactly.
it? I mean, foreigners who visit Sri Lanka are astonished. They say this is such an amazing country in terms of, I mean, no, we don't have oil or gold or diamonds or something like that, but we have so much more.
Exactly.
But we don't actually look at those as money-making possibilities, and that's something. I mean, even at the local level, our local government authorities tend to, I mean, the way they earn revenue, one is from the central government, and secondly, they are taxing the people through the rates and also for business licenses and so on. But the local authorities, by and large, haven't developed the locality where there are revenue making possibilities.
Exactly.
You can have parks, you can have amusement areas, you can do so much more, and people will pay a small
Exactly.
fee.
And now if you go to Delkanda, recently I saw Delkanda has a marketplace. On Sunday they have the market, but during the next few days they have a indoor basketball play. So they are earning money, which is a fantastic thing, and I think that's a great thing that they have done. So we need to also look into that, but then look at also at the local level cottage industry. Women are sitting at home and they are most of the time gossiping. I mean, they are not doing anything good. Gossiping is also bad. But if you can capture those resources, there are a lot of women who come and drop their children to school and they're idling. Why don't you use them in order to develop industries, cottage industries? I mean, it's sad to see so many women who've taken loans in the past. I mean, they are coming to the level of committing suicide because they can't pay it back. But we have so many opportunities for women to be earning some money and not wasting time. And the local government level, the local authority is the closest person to them. Okay, the local authority can enable these women to develop their cottage industry, but the selling can be done even at the central government level, maybe even exporting, maybe through tourism. But everything that where the people are, where the resources are, utilize it. This is very, very important, because there is this thinking the local governments are only for taking care of the needs of the people, which is rubbish. Because people are the greatest resource that we have. And where are the people? They are at the local government level. And every PHI, every health worker, every environmental officer, every development officer, they are in touch with these people.
And that's a lot of staff also, isn't it? I mean,
huge amount.
When you go to these Pradesh Sabhas, you see so many people just lounging around.
Yep.
And then at the level of the Gram Niladhari, the secretariat that they have, as you just mentioned, there are about 4 or 5 qualified officers. Many of them are graduates. So what are they doing?
I mean, they are literally doing nothing except that they are looking into when a industry needs to renew their license. They go about and doing all this work. Or else, when there is a disease, there is some situation, environmental issue, then they go and look into this. But those are very tiny jobs.
And that's part and parcel of daily work, isn't it?
Exactly.
So there doesn't seem to be enough innovation.
I think the local, this is why I keep saying, whoever that you elect to be the chairperson, whoever you elect to be the mayor of a town, make sure these people are capable, please. Because we don't want to ruin this country. And we don't want another Aragale. We don't have time for Aragales anymore. So please make sure that you use your brain in order to elect people. And don't go by color. Color will come, color will go. Plenty of colors today around. And we don't need to be always thinking about colors, right? We go beyond colors. We go for intelligence. We go for capability. We go for uprightness. We go for integrity. We go for honesty. Those are the things that we should be looking for. Be excited about the local government election because your job is really to look for the right person. I mean, that's a fantastic thing. Look for the right person to be there so that you are also energized and you get on with your work. And at the end of the day, right, if at the local government level we have huge production, if the amount of money that they are earning is huge, then small industry will begin to come up at the local government level. Tourism will thrive at the local government level, and tourism for that matter, we have a long way to go. We are happy, yet we have a long way to go.
Now, in some ways, these local government authorities, they are simply functioning as authorities. They do serve the people, but not enough. But they don't actually look at innovation, revenue generation, how that community can be uplifted really. Should they be looking at that kind of business model, which is more of a quasi private sector model, if you would like to describe?
We need to think in terms of private sector now. We need to be thinking in terms of now for innovation. For example, if the schools are going to be gearing towards industry, if the schools are also becoming different so that the children also are being told that if they do research and if they do make something new, that will be valued. So when they go to the university students will begin to thrive on that. They will be thinking of innovations, right? And these innovations can be brought back to the local authority level where they can select people. The banks can fund them. The banks can give them a small amount of money for them to start the cottage industry. And this is how it should go. And not everyone should do the same thing. For example, if you have an area where you can recycle paper, and you can make new paper and use it for the tourism industry. The tourists would go to Dambulla to see whatever the historical places in Dambulla. But if there are also paper, handmade paper from Gaul can be taken to Nabulla so that they can also be sold there. People are going to Sigiri. I went to Sigiri very recently. I climbed all the way up, came down, and there are few people who are sitting there with the same things that I have seen 5 years ago, right? Expecting the tourists to buy them. I didn't want to buy anything. I mean, even though I had the heart to buy something from them so that I can help them, but they're selling the same thing.
And more often than not, what they are offering is something made in China, isn't it?
Exactly. And the other thing is, but those people are making an effort. We need to understand that they are trying to earn some money. What should happen now? There should be research people who are in the local government level. This is why I'm saying choose the right people as your members. People who know what creativity is. People know how to help another person to develop their product in such a way that it can be sold. I mean, it's a matter of packing. I mean, look at some of the things that you buy. I mean, when you open the packing, there's nothing much, but the packing is so beautiful that you buy it. So we need to think in terms of that and help those people. Now, some of those things that whenever I travel out, I look at the things that people are selling. They sell acharu. Now, you can eat the acharu there, that's fine. But I don't want to eat my acharu there. I want to bring it in my car and I want to eat it when I'm in a hotel or somewhere safely and having some fun. But you can't bring it because it's in a polythene bag. So how can you bring that acharu home or how can you take it to a hotel? You can't, right? So think hard. If I add a container which can carry my acharu so that these people will buy it and they'll take it and then you will earn a little bit more money,
But it's mind-boggling that nobody actually thinks of these things, and we have.
I have been.
I mean, you do, but from the side of government and local government, we don't think of this. Now you were talking about climbing Sigiriya. I mean, hundreds of thousands of government employees, government officials would climb Sigiriya every year. Don't they, think to themselves, well, this could be developed?
You know where the problem is? This is why I tell, the young president, right? And I know him well. I'm telling the president, don't increase the salaries of these government officers in such a hurry. They have a lot of work to do. Most of them are sitting in their offices and doing absolutely nothing except for gossip. And they are looking at their mobile phones and talking to each other or messaging each other.
And you usually find a few of them asleep at their desks as well.
And so after lunch, sure to sleep for about an hour. You see, they don't have an incentive. Today, the government officers don't have a reason to work hard. They get their salary, they get their pension. Why should they worry? Everything is given to them. They are sure of a job. And they use their vehicle, which is given for their office work, to pick up the children. Who's looking after these things? Is anybody monitoring them? We wanted a system change. We did the whole Aragalaya for a system change, but I don't see any system changing. Another thing I like to tell the president right now, I hope you don't mind, is that we said during the election period, we will not give anything to the people so that they will be pushed to vote for you. Don't do it. Don't give things to people just to please them. I know it's the April month, it's a festive month, but we need to keep our policies straight. Be honest in what you promise. Most important thing for a politician is honesty, which is lacking, it's true, but we can make a change. This is why we wanted the system change, for honesty, for truthfulness, and more than anything else, don't give things to get something. That's bad. That's where corruption is.
Words of wisdom indeed, a lot of food for thought there, and I'm afraid we are out of time tonight. My thanks to Dr. Ajantha Perera for being with us once again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.